Welcome to the Powell Bros Movie Reviews, brought to you by our supporters at Patreon. In case you have been under a rock, the world around us is in ruins. A nihilistic worldview permeates the film industry. Sodomites control the cultural narrative. Corporations run by sexual perverts and money launderers are constantly pumping out garbage content in order to entertain us. We here at the Powell Bros are over it. We want to give honest reviews of movies that expose the wicked and glorify the good. We want to find stories that have masculine male characters who slay dragons, and feminine female characters who need saving. We want stories and want to see creators who have an artistic prowess that shames and defeats our enemies. We are tired of the nihilistic moral ambiguity of modern-day entertainment. And we want stories that change people, that inspire people towards goodness, truth, and beauty. And most importantly, we want the entire entertainment industry to bow the knee to Jesus Christ, who is Lord of all. Yes, we are Christians, and we are unashamed of that. And if that bothers you, too bad. Now, if you do wish to support us in our mission, please head over to patreon.com/the Powell Bros, or follow the link in the show notes. There you will gain access to our exclusive show, the Powell Bros Mini Reviews, as well as early access to both movie chronicles and movie reviews. Now, on with the show. Does satire have a place in storytelling? We would say yes. In fact, satire can be a very powerful form of storytelling. But does 2019's controversial Jojo Rabbit do just that? Does it tell a story that's both funny but moving as well? Does it handle a satirical story that's set during one of the bloodiest periods of world history without praising wickedness but instead exposing it? These are the type of questions that this movie begs and questions that we hope to answer in our review of Jojo Rabbit. So, stay tuned to find out. Welcome to the Powell Bros Movie Reviews. We are here with another movie for you guys to review, and look forward to this one. I just look forward to every week. You know, this is just always a fun time. Mm-hmm. And Tobiah, I'm one of your hosts, Trent Powell, and I'm here with my other host, Tobiah Powell. Tobiah, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sad to be here.
So this is we're pretty much just about halfway.
We are past halfway. Surf's Up was our halfway mark. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Yep. We got 7 next week, and we'll have another war movie after that. Yeah, we're getting there.
I wanted to.
I feel like it's gone by fast. Go ahead.
We're halfway through. It's pretty crazy. This would be our 11th movie. So.
Yep. Nice.
Count.
Yes, and this was my. This is my 5th pick. And
11th.
it's funny.
This is our 10th movie. Oh, so this is halfway.
Oh, okay. That works then.
Because I picked first. Oh, okay, yeah. So it's because I picked first. So so this is our halfway mark. Okay.
So we're halfway point of season 2. We're just kind of starting the conversation as to what we're going to do next season, and but we're focused on this season right now, and we're getting through it. We have another World War II. Well, no, this is our first World War II movie, another war movie. Mm-hmm. We had World War One. We had War for Independence, and Gladiator, and
Patriot.
World War II. It's going to be interesting, like, at the end of this, how we rate all these films, because I'm already thinking, like, I think I mispicked as far as, like, which is, like, that's great. Like, this is the point of doing this. We're unpacking these movies, dissecting them, and it's like, it's going to change. This movie is actually now higher on my list after watching it because I loved it so much, and we'll get to that. That's kind of jumping ahead. So, Tobiah, first off, what movie are we watching, Tobiah? Or reviewing?
We are reviewing Jojo Rabbit. Classic.
Jojo, that's like...
classic... what's his name? Who directed this? What's his name?
Taika Waititi.
Taika Waititi.
Classic
Taika
he's done
Waititi
a handful.
movie.
Yeah, he's been on a handful of movies. I feel like his Marvel, like, obviously Ragnarok was decent. as to most people's standards. Love and Thunder was awful, and he's got this movie. He also has Hunt for the Wilder People, which I also love, and I almost put on my list. That's definitely one that I would love to.
Ricky Baker.
It's your birthday, Ricky Baker. It's a good movie. So Tobiah, Jojo Rabbit. I picked this one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So this was your first steal. You stole this one from me.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Okay. Yep. So
I forgot that.
It was pretty low on my list, I think. I can't remember where I had it, but I know that you stole it. You got it before I did. Yeah, no, it's a genius movie. It's very well made. The story and just the whole concept of doing a comedy basically around Nazis and Hitler.
Most,
help me, just
help me, everyone. Help me, little boy.
One last hail for old time's sake. Yeah, it's crazy that this movie was made. Like,
it just set in one of the darkest times in human history.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll say that. But that's the genius of it, and we'll get into that. But,
yeah, if you know what this movie's doing, what it's telling, then you can understand why everybody's acting the way they're acting, why the world seems like it is. Like, there's a reason behind it all, and it's so genius. It's so well made. Like, just the amazing details in how he made this movie to do what he wanted it to do is so incredible, and shows his masterful work in this film. And great story, like great, just great film.
Absolutely. I've loved this movie ever since I first saw it, and it just, and now, like, I do like it more now after unpacking it, because there's a lot of things that I had missed before that I saw now. I did have I also had issues with it from a story standpoint and plot standpoint and whatnot, but for the most part, I think this movie is brilliant and it's hilarious. I think what they choose to do with these characters and how they portray them and how they draw out the story, I think it's great. Jojo Rabbit, directed by Taika Waititi, starring Taika Waititi as Hitler himself. Which is also part of the genius. Apparently, he couldn't get any other actor to play Hitler. Or at least play Hitler in the way that he wants.
Yeah, play Hitler the way he wanted him to, which was just a goofy buffoon. And nobody would do it.
And it's also funny because
it's probably the dancing parts that they just couldn't get him to like dance and run with Jojo as he's running away from the was he running away from bombs or something? I don't know, but
was it when they were doing the grenade throwing?
I think so. Yeah, and he's just like running with him as they're running through these grenades going off.
Yeah, so good. Oh, that whole montage before that, or after, before that. Anyways, but what's also funny is that Taika Waititi is Jewish, and he's playing Hitler.
Yeah,
so that's just great. Yeah, I don't this is set at towards the end of World War II. This is set in Nazi Germany towards the end of World War II. We're following Jojo Betzler, a 10-year-old boy who is played by Roman Griffin Davis, who does a fabulous job in this role, even as a 10-year-old actor.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he was probably 10. His character's 10. Taika Waititi does a great job as Hitler. Is it like a more like bubbly? This wasn't how he acted, essentially. But there's a reason for it because it's in his imagination. But it's good.
Well, it's a lot of the people, a lot of the characters in this movie, like they're acting in ways that they wouldn't act. But we'll get into that.
Mm-hmm. Right. Sort of. I love. Well, we'll get into that. Okay, we'll get into that later. So we got Jojo Betzler. Another character, Captain Kitzendorf. Kitzendorf. I actually can't remember, but he goes by Captain K in this film. That's what we'll. Oh, Clintendorf. Played by Sam Rockwell, also who's in Gentlemen Broncos, which we've talked about. And Tobiah, I'm assuming you haven't seen it yet because you haven't talked to me about it. So you still need to watch that movie. Yeah. And anyone else who's listening, watch Gentlemen Broncos. Actually, I don't know if I should recommend that to people because it's really stupid. But anyways, there's that. He plays the flamboyant, kind of pessimistic, or like the captain who's given up towards the end of the war. He used to be a high-ranked captain in Hitler's army, but he had a mission that went wrong and had a very preventable accident where he lost an eye. And because the German army requires you to have 2 working eyes, he got demoted to basically being a camp counselor.
Yeah.
Or he's demoted to teaching kids at this Nazi camp. So we meet our hero, Jojo Betzler. He's a Nazi boy, and he portrays a certain character of kind of Hitler's youth, young children who were growing up during this time, and all they knew was Hitler and the Third Reich, and they were devoted to Hitler. They wanted to follow him. They wanted to be like him. They wanted to honor him. They wanted to be little Nazis in a sense. And so he's a brainwashed kid. He's blindly following his leader, his nation's leader, and he's devoted. He is a 10-year-old boy he wants to be a Nazi. That's all he wants, and you see his devotion, his desire to be that. But then you also see the other side where he's also kind of a coward, and he's reluctant, and he's fearful, and he's even at the beginning of the film he's afraid to go out into the world because he knows what's ahead of him and whatnot. And as we meet him, kind of the first opening scene is just great. For opening scene, we follow after the singing of German children to intro the movie. We see Jojo suiting up in his little Nazi uniform. He stands with a soldier-like posture and looks in a mirror / camera and says to himself, "Jojo Betzler, 10 years old. Today you join the ranks of the Junvolk." I literally was saying this before. I gotta get my J's and W's right. It's the young Volk. In a very special training weekend, he's training to be a Nazi. It's like a little boys' camp, it's girls too.
Yeah,
but it's going to be intense. Or he says it's going to be intense. But today you become a man. And he just so wonderfully just sets up the story and tells us just about everything we need to know about who this kid is as he's going out. And then he continues to pronounce his devotion to Hitler, he says is the savior of our country. And then we learn right away that he has a special imaginary friend, who is of course Hitler himself. So, as we said, played by Taika Waititi. Which it just makes this movie so great. So in his head, he has a friend who is Hitler, who is a certain side of him. He's the side of him that wants him to be a devoted Nazi in a sense. So he's always kind of motivating him, but also mocking him, and he's kind of like mocking himself and saying telling him to be a man, tell him to man up, tell him to stop being a coward, tell him to do hard things, but also to be basically a terrible Nazi. A Jew-hating Nazi, in a sense. So there's some self-aware comedy here. Of course, as Taika Waititi, like I said, is a Jew and playing Hitler. Hitler's kind of discoursing with him throughout the film as like like I said, the repetition of the side of Jojo that wants to be a man, the side of Jojo that wants to be devoted to Hitler's cause. But I kind of say this. But we see at the beginning he's reluctant to go. Like, so he's excited. He's like, "Jojo Betzler, you're going to be a man," but then he doesn't want to leave the house. Mm-hmm. And Hitler says to him, "Despite the fact that you're a little bit scrawny, unpopular, you can't tie your own shoelaces, even though you are 10 years old." And the shoe tying thing also is very important throughout the film. is important key. There's so I could talk for 4 hours in this movie.
Yeah.
But like there's so many themes and so many little details in this film.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna pick and choose throughout the film what I'm gonna focus on, because there's a lot I could focus on. But
yeah.
Shoe tying, shoes, very important. And just to kind of get a sense of how his imaginary friend perceives him, Hitler also says, "You're the best, most loyal Nazi." I also want to say
speaking of details, like the cinematography in this movie is one of the best storytelling cinematographies ever. Like
totally,
and it sticks so well to the story. And we can get into it. There's a few points I'll point out as you go along that I really like. It's really you remember it, like as you're watching the movie. You're like, oh yeah, like this is what's going on.
Definitely. And so, like I said, Hitler. It's kind of get a sense of like the motivation that Hitler in his head is giving him. He says, "You are the best, most looking."
Also, the most handsome, or something like that.
The most loyal little Nazi that he's ever met, and is very good looking. So there's kind of self-indulgence and motivation here that he receives from Hitler, and then he's told to hail Hitler. And so after many tries, successfully hailing Hitler, Jojo runs out into the street and just
you
hails
call that
Hitler
to hail?
Hail! You call that to hail? Hail! Hail Hitler! And they just yell back and forth, and then he runs out into the streets and is just yelling, just tell everyone to hail him. So like, there's like motivation, like he gets out the door finally, but after convincing himself to do it. Jojo goes off to Nazi camp and with the other little Nazi kids, and he's gonna learn to be a man. But he goes off not before we meet another main character, who's his other best friend. His name's Yorkie. He's a chubby Nazi boy as well, and they're good friends throughout the film. And what's interesting is they're both very lonely. They don't have other friends. Like Jojo doesn't have other friends. He likes to put on a facade and make it seem like he has all these friends, but he has Hitler who's in his head. Then Yorkie. But there's also an interesting thing about Yorkie that I've heard others talk about, and I think is the case, but I'll get to it later. But Yorkie, best friend, chubby Nazi boy. And they both go off to camp together. We have like well over 100 boys and girls that we meet, that we see, and they're all welcome to the Jugend training weekend, which actually means Hitler's youth, interesting enough. Oh yeah, and Captain K starts off by saying, "Hail Hitler, guys! Hail Hitler, guys!" This is Captain Klenzendorf. He is a Nazi captain who, like I said, his mission didn't go well. He failed. Now he's stuck with these children. And then he introduces his sub-officer Finkel, who's his flamboyant right-hand man, which I think is so hilarious. And he's actually a great side character. Then also Fraulein Rom, who played by, what's her name? Rebel, I think it's Rebel Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she says, "Hey, hail Hitler, everyone." She also says that she's had 18 kids for Germany.
I have 18 kids for Germany.
Germany. They're gonna teach all the little girls how to cook at home and make babies for Germany.
Yeah,
which is funny because what they're saying from the storytelling point is that the Nazis were very traditional and they force women to just be trad wives pretty much, and which is funny because they're putting that in a bad light. And anyways, so we're after telling the crowd of kids that they're little titty grabbers, he tells them a story, grabs a rifle, and says, "Can two-eyed people do this?" Then he fires multiple times at targets and pretty much misses, or just shoots randomly.
He's just shooting and then all the kids things. Cheer.
Yeah. Can two-eyed people do this? He explains that the training's going to last 2 days, and they're going to go through rigorous training exercises every day. We get a sense of kind of where Germany's at in the war. He is like kind of basically saying that for some reason we're still fighting even though we're basically losing. So he's kind of pessimistic about where the war is going. We're towards the end. The Allies are taking over, and Germany's losing. Hitler's going crazy, and so we're gonna get that sense of where he's at. But they're like, we're gonna train up these kids and train them to be little Nazi boys. He tells them that they've all been issued special knives as their weapon and that they should never be without it, which is a key point throughout the film. He also tells them don't stab anyone. And then after this, we cue the training montage where the kids are running ropes courses, doing push-ups, doing swastika poses.
Yeah, like, swastika.
Doing tug of war and gas masks. They're fighting. They have a scene where they're fighting each other, which is really interesting because all the kids are fighting, but Jojo is like not. He's like kind of actually scared and like doesn't know what to do. He doesn't really want to fight the kids, and then he tries to like get away and run. But then of course other kids are like kind of recognizing that and recognizing his cowardice, and that plays a significant role. Oh yeah, and then he tells one kid to like one kid gets another kid on the ground, and then the kid picks up a rock, and then the sub officer tells him to just bash the other kid with a rock in order to finish him. And then they have a scene where the kids are sitting in class learning about Jews and that they're basically serpent demon creatures. Which is great, funny. Not great, but hilarious. They have a book burning session. It's all your basic Nazi things, and Jojo's like, you can tell he's kind of confused and he doesn't really understand why they're doing what they're doing, but he knows that this is what Nazis do, so he does it. Like, this is what we're supposed to do. So he's reluctant, sort of, but like kind of confused. But he's like, this is what I'm supposed to do, so I'm going to do it. And so anyways. After the book burning, the kids settle down to bed. Yorkie and Jojo have a discussion about killing Jews and pleasing Hitler. Jojo fantasizes about Hitler becoming his best friend after he kills the Jews. And Yorkie responds by saying that he thought he was his best friend, but Jojo assures him that he is actually his second best friend next to Hitler, and that unless Hitler is living inside a fat boy's body, he should just be fine with second place. And then Yorkie's like, "No, I'm just a kid in a fat kid's body.
No, I'm just a fat kid in a fat kid's body.
Or a fat kid, yeah."
No, I suppose I'm just a fat kid in a fat kid's body.
Next, the kids are learning how to be killers. Jojo is selected to kill a rabbit, to which he chickens out and does not kill the rabbit, but lets it go. So he's struggling with being a coward. He's like, he wants to be. He's all talk but no show. He wants to be a killer. He wants to kill Nazis, but he can't even kill a little rabbit. And so he's pressured by the other Nazi, like some teenagers that are there helping these kids out, and that they kind of make fun of Jojo and they mock Jojo for not killing the rabbit and call him a coward. They also mention his father, and they say that his father was a coward as well, but Jojo retorts by saying that his father's off fighting in Italy, and which the soldiers respond by saying that his father is actually a deserter and a coward. We don't really learn exactly what's the deal with his father, but his father's not present, and that sets up a really important theme throughout the film, because Jojo has father hunger. He desires a father. He needs a father. He tries to find that father in Hitler. He also tries to find that father in Captain K. We'll get to that, and then he eventually will assume responsibility and well, yeah, not to jump ahead, but there's that father hunger that he has because he is. Others are saying that his father's a coward, which we find out his father's not. But anyways, this is also where he gets the nickname Jojo Rabbit, because he refuses to kill the rabbit. But he has a discussion with Hitler in his head, and where Hitler pretty much tells him that, a rabbit is actually a good thing. Rabbits they're brave creatures that fight for survival and feed their families, and so Jojo's encouraging himself through Hitler and saying like, no, it's actually good that your nickname is Jojo Rabbit. And this is also where Hitler first offers him cigarettes. Which I don't know if you know this, but Hitler was adamantly opposed to cigarettes.
Oh, really?
So so it's a little meta joke. Like Hitler did not like cigarettes and not support smoking cigarettes. He took a bunch of other crap, but yeah. but not he didn't smoke tobacco cigarettes. So, anyways, he's always offering Jojo
cigarettes.
No, I'm 10. So he embraces. Oh yeah, and so he gets motivated by Hitler, embraces the nickname, runs back to the kids, and the kids are learning how to throw grenades. To which Jojo boldly runs up, grabs a grenade, throws it, but it hits a tree, bounces off, and lands right at his feet, and then blows up right there. Which I think is so funny because like he's being a coward, but then he psychs himself up, just like he did when he was at the beginning when he was not going to leave the house. He gets motivated to hail Hitler, and then he goes out and hails Hitler to everyone. But he does so in a way that's like, it's ridiculous. And then he gets motivated by Hitler to go and throw the grenade, throws the grenade, it lands at his feet, blows up. And next we see he's at the hospital.
Well, we see Captain K. He's like, don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Yep. But he wakes up in the hospital, severely injured legs and cuts on his face. And this is where we meet his mother, played by Scarlett Johansson. Another fabulous job acting-wise. I think she just plays a great motherly character to him. But just, yeah, I think she does a great job. Typical German woman from the outset of meeting her, but she's very positive and optimistic. She finds humor in enjoying things and jokes. She jokes around a lot. She teases Jojo, but in a loving, motherly way. And in a way that motivates him. So like everyone else is kind of losing hope with where they're at in the war, but she has a positive outlook on things and so forth. They're about to go outside and get out of the house. They go back home. They're talking about going. She wants to get Jojo out of the house, so she teaches him how to tie his shoes and do so like by explaining it like a rabbit. There's a rabbit explanation or illustration that she uses, but he's not able to tie his shoes. We established that before. She's still not able to. She ties his shoes for him in this scene. He doesn't want to go outside because he says he looks stupid, but she assures him that not everyone has the privilege of looking stupid. And then she takes him. So they go out. She takes him to a sort of like it's like a school for like kids, but like I think it's also injured kids. So, but it's also being led by Captain K because he got demoted again for blowing Jojo up with the grenade or for letting Jojo do that. So he got demoted again. So he's at this school and he's just done. He's just over it. But and Scarlett Johansson goes up and her name's Rosie. So Rosie goes up and pretty much kicks Captain K and beats him up and for what she did to her son and finds out that 2 jobs are available for Jojo. One is to go and you can walk the clones. It's just like a bunch of kids that were a kid that was cloned like 20 times. That was just hilarious. And then also the other job is to go out and hand out propaganda. So he chooses the latter instead of walking the clones. And he goes around putting up Nazi propaganda all over. While he's out, he meets up again with his mom where so like this movie is just brilliant. So in the midst of all this humor and ridiculousness, there are very serious notes that are played throughout the film where it's like, oh, we are in World War II. Oh, this is Nazi Germany. Oh, there are serious things that we're having to deal with because she's standing there looking at a handful of people that have been hanged out in the middle of the street. In the middle of the marketplace in town. And so there's like a serious note that is played right here. And Jojo, obviously he doesn't want to look at it, but she makes him look at it and see like the seriousness that that they are all being hung because they were traitors essentially to Nazi Germany, but they were helping Jews essentially. And they have a little inscription that says free Germany, which is interesting for later. But anyways, they were all hung for helping out the Jews essentially, and prisoners of war, but hung in the market in front of for everyone to see. She's with his mom. He sees the young soldiers who were making fun of him, the teenagers. They were going off to war, and they're like gloating about it as they're being driven off, and which is interesting because that same car comes back later, and those kids are not there, and all the soldiers are injured and severely injured. So I think at this point, then he heads home. So he's kind of down. What's up?
Sorry, I was trying to contemplate if I was going to mention it now, but I think I will. So like when we first see we're just going to take a few steps back. When he sees the people that were hung, I want to take a note that he was looking pretty much only at their feet and their shoes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I thought it's a very important little note that he did. And
because wasn't that our first look, our first time seeing them was them hanging, but like it was just their feet that we could see.
Yeah.
So,
and every time they showed Jojo and then showed them, it was just the feet.
Him looking at the feet.
Yeah.
Okay. No, thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah.
So he goes home. He's pretty like downcast. It's kind of like, man, my life's miserable. Like I wanted to be a soldier, and now I'm stuck putting up propaganda and running around with my mom, and I'm a deformed little boy. You know, and the Aryans are big about their appearance and how they look, and they're supposedly from their perspective the most handsome, beautiful, attractive people. The blonde-haired, blue-eyed people. And so like he's all cut up on his face, so he's pretty like he's miserable. So he goes home, but then when he gets home, he hears some noise going on upstairs in his house. So he goes up to his sister's old room. So apparently his sister has passed away as well. And, her sister's passed away, and his dad is obviously not there. So we don't know exactly what happened to him, but he's off fighting apparently. But his sister, apparently, we don't know anything really what happened to her, but she died. But he goes in his sister's room, and then he finds a hidden room in what do they call it? It's like it's not an attic. It's kind
of like a closet.
Yeah, like a hidden closet door. What's the word for it? I don't know. Whatever. But he finds a hidden door in his sister's room, opens up, and finds out that there is a Jew, a little girl, a teenage Jewish girl that is living in his sister's room. And she is being protected by Jojo's mom. She's probably like 4 or 5 years older than Jojo. Probably more than that, actually. 5, 6, 7 years. She's probably like 16 or 17. She plays it off in a humorous way when she meets him. She does so and trying to like scare Jojo and to make it seem like she's a Jew and she is as awful as people say that she is. She's a scary monster, serpent woman. It's gonna mind control him and kill him pretty much and take over his family. They're basically seen as pests, as leeches upon society, but also upon people's homes and so forth. And so she plays that off a little bit to kind of scare Jojo. And then from there I think this is where he has another conversation with Hitler, because he's like, okay, there's a Jew now living in my house. I hate Jews. What am I going to do about this? And Hitler's basically saying, well, here, let's make a plan. Let's infiltrate her. Let's interrogate her. Let's find out, all her secrets, find out where she came from, learn about the Jews and so forth. So that's the plan. And then the next scene he's sitting downstairs waiting for his mom to come home, and his mom comes home, but she's coming in very quietly because she thinks Jojo's probably in his room asleep, but he's waiting, and he says to her, I heard her, and Jojo's mom's like, what? And then he's going to say that he heard the girl, but he said I heard what's his sister's name? Inka or
Sure.
Inga?
Yeah.
Inga? We'll say Inga. I heard Inga's ghost. Which ghost is another theme throughout the film. But he heard Inga's ghost, and then she plays it off like, oh no, if you heard a ghost, then you must be a crazy person, and I have to live with a crazy person or something like that. It makes a funny joke about it. But here we kind of get to learn see the just kind of heartfelt or see the relationship that Jojo has with his mom here. She's very kind to him. She loves him. She wants to take care of him. She wants him to live out his fantasy of like being a Nazi because that's all he's ever known, and it gives him that motivation. But she also wishes that he wasn't. She wishes that he would just be a boy. She wishes that he would just act like a 10-year-old and just have an imagination, but not be imagination driven by the expectations put upon him by Hitler, essentially. He after she puts him to bed, she goes and talks with what's her name? Elsa. Elsa's the Jewish girl. Yeah, I forgot to say that. He goes and talks to her. Another great acting job, by the way. She does an incredible job in this film. That actress. She talks to her about, say, hey, like, you have to be quiet. Like, he heard you. She does not tell Rosie that that Jojo came and actually saw her. She kind of keeps that secret, but she says, like, if I have to choose between you and my son, like, she's gonna choose her son, of course. So next scene, we get back at the kind of training place. Jojo's going through rehab, getting his legs back, getting back in shape, and the Fraulein, whatever her name is, Rebel Wilson. So she's like stretching his legs, and like he's like in incredible pain, and she's like this will make you feel better or something like that. And then he goes and talks with Captain K and his flamboyant sidekick, and he asks him about Jews. He's like, what do I do if I find a Jew? And he's like, why do you ask? And he's like, I always want to know. And he basically says, like, if you find a Jew, you tell me, and we tell the authorities, and they tell the SS, and then they get the Gestapo, and they come in and take away the Jew, and then they kill anyone that's associated with the Jew, to help the Jew, or just some other people, just in case. And so he's curious. He's going to Captain K to ask him about it. And then next scene is he's goes and meets with Elsa once again, and he's now going. He says to Captain K, like, well, how do I know if it's a Jew? And he's like, well, it's hard to tell. He says, without the funny little hats, it's hard to tell. Which I thought was hilarious. And he says someone should write a book about it. And so Jojo is inspired to write a book. And this is kind of where the second act picks up, where Jojo's learning, he's learning about the Jews. He's writing this book for Captain K, and he's just trying to figure out life with where he's at as just an injured, deformed, from his perspective, little Nazi boy. So he has a conversation with Elsa. She tells him, she once again is playing it off a little more, trying to intimidate him, but also say, we're like bats who hang from the ceiling. We're pretty much all the things that people say that we are. And so he's writing all these things down. There's a funny interaction there. And just kind of jumping ahead, we get to a dinner table scene where Rosie and Jojo are having dinner together, and Jojo's pretty upset with his mom. He's kind of like, he's being rude to her. He's like, he's not, he obviously knows that she's hiding this Jewish girl, and he's not happy about that because he's a Nazi, and that's his Nazi family. His father wouldn't do that, and so she certainly should not be doing it. And they have that interaction, and then Rosie, they get in an argument and about his father and how his father's not there, and he wishes his father was there and not her. And so she goes and puts charcoal pretty much on her face and makes a beard, and then goes up to him and she yells at him and tells him, do not talk to your mother that way, in like a masculine voice, playing his father. So once again, interesting, imaginary, like she's imagining being his father. And then it goes back and is like having a conversation between himself and goes back as his father, having conversation with Rosie, like kind of talking to herself back and forth, imagination, and it's like I yelled at the boy, and he's like, you know, you should apologize. He's like, I'm sorry. He's like, what was that? That wasn't an apology, and so forth. And then this is where we kind of get to learn more about Rosie. She starts pretty much dancing. She starts dancing with herself or with her husband, quote unquote, and imaginary dance. But you see that she, in the midst of this hardship and this tension that she has with her son, she finds joy in it. She also teaches her son how to be joyful and how to reconcile and have a positive outlook on where things are at, because she wishes her husband was there. She wants his father to be there, but she knows that he can't be right now. And so so she starts dancing. Dancing is a very common theme. She dances a lot in this film, and that's not something Jojo would do. That's not something Jojo would about. Like he's not dancing around. He's not he's not being a kid either, because he's so devoted to being a Nazi. So they dance, and and then she encourages Jojo to get up and dance as well, which they do. We learn that Elsa. We have he goes back to talk with Elsa. We learn that Elsa is or she has a fiance named Nathan back home, who like proposed to her, so she loves him. So he, in order to get back at her, writes some letters that were written by Nathan, quote unquote, and pretty much says, and he reads those letters to her and says, "Oh, I found this letter that Nathan wrote," and he basically says that he doesn't. That Nathan doesn't want to be her fiance anymore, and that he's a fat loser who doesn't have a job and has nothing going for him. And then it's really interesting because he feels bad. Like he actually, like she's really hurt by it, because obviously this is a touchy subject. But she's hurt by it, and he actually feels guilty. And so he goes back and writes another letter and basically, retracts everything he said about not wanting to be her fiance and whatnot. So yeah, that interesting interaction between the two of them. I'm talking a lot. Tobiah, do you have anything up to this point that I've missed?
No, I mean, you're doing good. I'm just
There's a lot. There's just a lot of, I think, really important interactions that we see between our characters at this point. And
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Jojo's just continuing to write his book, and he has another interaction with Hitler about writing the book. Then the next day, I thought this was really good. Jojo goes back to Captain K, and he wants to, or he's going to just get like, hey, like, do you have another job for me? Do you have anything else? Jojo sits down with Captain K, and he asks him questions about Jews again. So it's interesting that he keeps going to Captain K. Like I said, he was kind of a father figure. He was looking to him to be a father to him because he's a masculine role model in his life that he's told to follow. He has Captain K has an interesting outlook on the war, on Germany, on Hitler, on everything going on, and he's starting to really sympathize with the boy. He's kind of interacting with him more. Because at this scene, he literally asked him like, "Hey, how are things going with he says, I hear your dad's off fighting the war. Like, how has it been being the man of the house now?" And he says, "Oh, it's okay." And he says, "It's okay. So what jobs do you have today?" He says, "Well, I got one, and I won't lie, it's a bit of a step down from what you're used to, but we need all hands on deck right now with where things are at with the war. And the job is literally to send out kids wearing tin can costumes to ask for spare metal to help Hitler in the war effort." So you're like, metal for Hitler, go around, and there's a bunch of kids just walking around in tin costumes. Oh, yeah. Also before that, he asked again about Jews, just wanting to learn more, because he says, "I found out this thing about Jews, how they are bats, that they can read each other's minds, and they hang upside down when they sleep like bats." And then something was brought up about imaginary friend, and Captain K says, "Oh, I too once had an imaginary friend. He used to wet the bed, and I would get in so much trouble for it." And this is important because it's another just imaginary friend, imagination, and playing upon that theme again. But it's interesting because Jojo, like if he was put in like similar situations like that, he would also blame what happened or what's going on in his life on his imaginary friends. And, he would blame it on Hitler, blame it on like everything that's going on, attributing it to what he's learning from that side of him from his imaginary friend. So this is interesting. So the kids are going out asking people to donate metal for the war effort because they need everything they can get. Just kind of showing their complete desperation. This is where we see he sees his mom once again. So he's in a costume, so his mom can't see him, but he sees his mom kind of sneaking or kind of being secretive, and she leaves behind some propaganda on a chair on a bench, and the propaganda says "Free Germany." It's the same thing that the people that were hanged were wearing on their outfits. So Free Germany. So this is kind of a rebellion cause against Germany. Obviously, Jojo, seeing that his mom is a part of this, he also knows his mom is keeping a Jew in his house and so forth. So that's important. Following this, we run into Yorkie again, and we learn that he's become a soldier, which is just great. Because once again, desperation. That they're now sending kids out into fight. Like a little over the top, but it's pointing that out. It's also funny that his outfit is pretty much made out of paper. But he says it's not just paper. It's a special material that was invented by our top scientists,
and it's paper-like.
Paper-like. Which is actually accurate because they had to start using really cheap material that was like paper-like towards the end of the war, supposedly, because they were just running out of resources, and every nation was about to, was coming in on all sides against Germany. So after that, we get more interactions with Elsa. This one is really interesting because Elsa pretty much tells him that he keeps saying that he's a Nazi and that he's trying to be a faithful Nazi, and she says that no, you're actually not he says you're not a Nazi, and he says I'm massively into swastikas, so I think that's a pretty good sign right there. It's like one of my favorite lines in the film. I'm massively into swastikas. So she then retorts again and says that he's not, and that he is a 10-year-old boy who just likes Nazi stuff and likes dressing up in a funny uniform and just wants to be part of a club. So, and then he just agrees to disagree. So interesting commentary on her about where he's at. She then looks in the mirror and says out loud, she says, "What a dirty Jew." And then the next scene is actually really crucial because it shows Jojo sitting outside the bathroom as Elsa is taking a bath. So he literally provides her a bath to get cleaned up, to get washed up, because she is pretty dirty, and that's pretty significant. Because he's just now like going on about how he's a Nazi, he hates Jews, he's going to be Hitler's right hand man, and all these things, and then he's willing to help a Jew get clean. There's a washing there. There's a lot of symbolism even within that, which is also interesting because earlier in the film, after he finds out that there is a Jew in his house, Rosie is taking a bath, and he's sitting. It's the same shot. He's sitting outside the bathroom holding a knife and pretty much in a way that he's showing that he's protecting his mom, which is really significant. Even going back then, he's trying to be like the man of the house. He's being protective, but here he's allowing her to bathe and get cleaned up, and he even allows her to get nice clothes on and everything, and walk around the house like a normal person, which is very significant for his character. And then next scene we see is they get a knock on the door, and the Gestapo is showing up. They're of course looking for Jews that are hiding in people's houses. He says little Goldilocks that that hide in cupboards and steal breadcrumbs and stuff. Oh, actually, even going back, there's just so many things. So he is starting to be more infatuated by her. He's falling for her. He likes her. He's learning that Jews aren't as awful as I've been led to believe, which is just so interesting. And there's a scene earlier. Actually, I completely skipped over it, which is one of my. This is like I said, so much. This is one of my favorite scenes in the film. He is with his mom. After he had a conversation about Nathan, about writing those letters and stuff, he has a conversation with his mom where they go out to this. I think this is like Riverside meadow, where he is sitting down talking with her, and she's just talking about how this place used to be so bright and filled with people that were in love, and it was just a joyful place. And he kind of scoffs at that, and and he basically says, it's disgusting for people to be in love, or like I would never want to be in love, something along those lines. And she kind of mocks him for that, and it explains what it means to be in love. And she says, like, you'll know someday, and you'll have butterflies in your tummy. And skip ahead. Oh, and also we have a scene where we see her dancing again. So there's another dancing scene for her. She stands up on this ledge, and all we see are her feet, or her shins, ankles, feet, her shoes, her nice red and white shoes, and she's just dancing. And it's just, I think it's such a wonderfully shot scene. This whole sequence, especially up against the green meadow, green grass, and the stone structure that she's standing on, and Jojo like trying to. He sees the world. The world is great to him. The world is not colorful. The world is not beautiful. But to her, the world is beautiful, and it is bright and joyful. She is always looking on the positive side of life. He on the not so positive, the negative side of life, and there's always a gray. It sees everything as gray. And then when he is helping Elsa in his house, they have a little shot where they show that he has butterflies in his stomach, pretty much. So he's showing that he's falling in love, like he's falling for this Jew, which obviously our character at the beginning of the film would never do that. But he is doing it, and he's like, it's almost like he can't help it. This is something that is happening to him, but he's learning and he's growing and he's changing during this sequence, but leading up to here, of course. Then the Gestapo show up, and this whole sequence is incredible. They all there's like 5 of them, I think, and they're all hailing each other. So they're like, hail Hitler, hail Hitler. And they go to each person and they hail each other. They hail Jojo. Jojo hails them back, and and they come in, and they're looking for obviously looking for Jews. And then Captain K shows up. This whole sequence with him is really interesting. But he shows up. He needs to give some conscription papers, some propaganda papers to go hand out for his next job. And he comes in and says, "Oh, what did I miss?" And to which the lead Gestapo says, no, we were just Hail Hitlering the boy, and then Hail Hitlering yourself, and of course Hail Hitlering Freddie Finkel. Freddie Finkel being his right hand, Captain K's right hand man. And when the Gestapo says Freddie Finkel, it just cracks me up, because he says it in it's such a flamboyant way, where he's like, "Oh, Freddie Finkel," like almost in a gay way, which is just hilarious. Going forward, because Freddie Finkel is very flamboyant. He's obviously gay, but he becomes more gay throughout the film. And then Captain K is also gay in some senses, and it's just a lot of things about it. It's just hilarious. And Oh yeah, then they go into Jojo's room, and the lead Gestapo says, "Ah, now this is my kind of little boy's bedroom." And then, oh yeah, because then there's a picture of Hitler. It's like, yeah, there he is, and he says, "You and your friends may have heard a rumor that Hitler only has one ball. That is nonsense. He has four. He has four. You heard that he has one ball? That's ridiculous. Nonsense. He has four." Or then they hear some noise upstairs, and they go upstairs, and Elsa comes out, and Elsa is pretending to be his sister, and taking the kind of identity of his sister. And there's so much tension in this scene. It's just kind of incredible, because in the midst of all the humor, in the midst of all the hailing, in the midst of kind of the ridiculousness of the whole situation, you have certain beats that are very emotional, that are very that are very deep and kind of dark and grim in some places. But you also have beats that are just intense, because in this whole sequence, you're worried that Elsa might get found out. You're worried that Jojo might get found out, like that they're gonna get caught, that Rosie's gonna get caught, and all this. And like, there's a lot of stakes in this sequence, especially in this scene, and as the Gestapo are going throughout their house, and especially because they have a Jew there, and so it creates a lot of tension and a lot of kind of intensity that you don't really expect with this movie, but it comes, and it still fits the tone, and I think it's so well delivered and well directed and so forth. So, and then and she he asked to see her papers, and so she goes to Jojo's sister's desk, pulls out her papers, gives them to Captain K. Captain K looks at them and asks, like, okay, what's your birthday, what year were you born, and so forth. And she answers guessing. I think she knew that she was born in May, but she got the day wrong, which is interesting. So she guesses, and Captain K, knowing that she lied and that she was wrong, he says, "Yep, we're good." So even in this moment, he's like, he could have given them up and turned her in, but he doesn't. And which, like I said, he's become attached to Jojo. I think even the fact that he's there is pretty significant. I got the sense that he knew that the Gestapo were showing up, so that's why he went in, so he could kind of keep an eye on Jojo and help him out. Which kind of one of my first maybe concerns about the film is, like, I wish they would have done more with Captain K's character to like set this up, as far as like him wanting to help Jojo and, not turn Jojo in, because it seems like he also had some kind of he knows Rosie and has like a friendship with her, and I just feel like that wasn't well earned or set up, to where like he feels for this family and he wants to help them, but he's also so disenfranchised with Germany, with Nazis, with Hitler at this point. Like, that's set up well, but as far as like him wanting to help, I wanted that to feel more natural, and it didn't feel that natural for me. I don't know if you felt that way at all.
No, I mean, I didn't really notice that.
Yeah.
Notice anything in that.
That's fine. So. Yeah. Yeah.
I think this movie was just kind of long, so that like maybe like if he had the time, like he could have dove in more. Right. I don't know if
there's a whole lot more. Like, Captain K is in the movie a good amount. So
yeah.
But,
and
like I said, he's kind of become a father figure to Jojo, and how that was well set up. And
I also kind of like I feel like there is kind of some mystery around his character, and like what's going on in his head, and I do like that. Right. So
totally. And Jojo at this point, like he's obviously wrestling as a character. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, have I fallen for this girl? And like, we're about to get caught. Like, I don't want her to get caught, but I also don't want my mom to get in trouble. So he's worried about his mom here, probably more even than he's worried about Elsa. But he also was worried about Elsa. He's also caring about Elsa throughout this whole sequence. After they leave, they found his book, because remember, he's writing the book. It's called Yoo-Hoo Jude, and they just get a crack at it, they laugh at it. They think it's hilarious. They get a kick out of it. That's what I was trying to say. And they read through it and kind of talk about. I can't remember exactly what they said about it, but basically, all the ridiculous things that Jojo's learned about Jews. They say, oh yeah, that is true. That's funny because it's true, and so forth. So
yeah, I think they were just laughing at it. Is all
right. And so move on. We get another interaction with Hitler after this, where basically he's telling him that he needs to just step up and stop fraternizing with the Jew. He's going to get in trouble. He's going to get his mom in trouble. Hitler's getting more agitated with him. So it's his self-conscious, he's fighting this battle within himself. And Hitler tells him that you're 10 years old, Jojo, and you need to act like it. Which, obviously he's just a 10-year-old, so he does. So which is interesting because he does need to act like a 10-year-old, but not in the way that he's saying.
Yeah.
So you can see that struggle. Jojo in this struggle, Jojo goes and he talks with Elsa once again, and he wants to he's trying to convince her to take the identity of his sister, which I thought was really interesting. This was before that interaction with Hitler, but she's disenfranchised, or she's kind of a downcast. She's like, I'm just gonna get caught. I'm gonna get you in trouble. I'm gonna get your mom in trouble. She's losing all hope. He's like, you can take the identity of my sister, but she doesn't want to do that because she wouldn't be free then. Because this is about her wanting to be free and be able to be a normal person, have a normal life, and not live in fear of being found out and murdered like her family was. Then he has an interaction with Hitler, and then as he's having this struggle, we have one of the most well set up scenes, I think, in a movie, but also one of the most impactful scenes that I've seen in a movie in a long time, where he is walking the streets of Germany, whatever, I don't know what town they live in, but whatever town they live in, and he sees a butterfly. So in the midst of the kind of this gray world that he sees, he lives in his mind, he sees a butterfly, which resembles life, which resembles hope, which resembles joy, which resembles beauty, which is something that he's not been able to see. And he sees his butterfly. He's starting to get it. He follows this butterfly, and it leads him to a pair of shoes, a person hanging in the street, and it is of course the shoes that we have become very well accustomed to in this film. It is his mother's shoes. She was found out, and they hung her. And man, that this hits so hard. And I say kudos to Taika Waititi, who also directed, wrote, produced, and starred in this movie, which is great. But man, the way they set up this movie is I've been laughing this whole movie, and now you're making me cry almost. It's incredible how they set that up. And his mom died, and how they show this scene. Every time we've seen her shoes like this, she's been dancing. Okay, dancing resembles life and joy. Okay, let's say it resembles life, and then now we see her shoes, and she's dead. So life and death right there. But we do so knowing that she went to her grave with joy. She went to her grave doing it for the right reasons, standing against her nation. She didn't back down. She stood her ground. She stood for what was right, and she fought for what was right, and she was willing to die for what was right, and die for Elsa, to give her life for her, to give her life for Jojo. Obviously Jojo wasn't killed because of this, so I'm not sure why. Maybe Jojo should have been, if you want to talk about from a just in reality, but they didn't kill Jojo. And maybe that was Captain K's dealing. Like, he made sure that Jojo was stayed away from this, and wasn't caught up in all this.
Yeah.
But
well, so
sorry, go ahead.
One of the first, because like you'd mentioned the first time we saw her feet when she was up on the cement, like a cement wall, the brick wall or whatever, and you know, in the grass field around it and stuff, and the way the cinematographer did it, like when they showed her feet, it was just Jojo just looking right at her feet, and then they mirrored it like pretty much exactly when she was hanging, and so like you just know, because they did that shot like not long after she made him stare at the dead bodies, so it's like it was a amazing foreshadowing of like that she was gonna die. And
absolutely
also the scene where she was in the grass and all that, it was a very vibrant, bright scene. And the scene where she's dead is very gray and dark and colorless,
right? And her red shoes stand out. So just incredibly well done. So many from a story standpoint, but also from a cinematography standpoint. And this, of course, breaks Jojo.
You might want to speed up. You might want to speed up because we're an hour and 10 minutes into it.
Okay, sorry. So Jojo also tries to tie his mom's shoes. He can't. Shoe tying important. And he's broken. He's crying. He is pretty much at the point of wanting to give up. He goes to Elsa, and they have another interaction. I can't remember exactly what was said during this, but we're getting to the end of the war. He meets up with Yoki again, and Yoki has I already said he's joined the war, right? Yeah. It turns out that the Allies are invading, that they're taking over Germany, that this is the final stand. So you know, they're sending kids out to fight pretty much, and meets up with Yorkie, and he tells him everything that's been going on, and one of my favorite lines. I actually didn't catch it. I didn't catch it till this time around, but where he says, "Our only friends are the." Are you saying that like every nation pretty much has joined against us, like the Americans, the UK? He says the Asians, Australians, and Africans. They're all against us. He says our only friends are the Japanese. Our only friends are the Japanese, and between you and me, Jojo, they don't look very Aryan. Oh my gosh. Wow. And so all the kids are pretty much being sent off to go, like, the Fraulein, she gives them, or straps a grenade to them and says, "Hey, go find an American and go run after, or go give an American a hug," and basically sending him out to go blow up. And
the
war's coming to an end. Germany loses, and Jojo is just having an existential crisis. Like, this is his dark night of the soul. Everything that he has fought for, everything that he has lived for is gone. His mom is gone. Germany's gone. Oh, also, Yoki tells him that Hitler has killed himself. He blew his brains out, and that he has been lying to us about a lot of things. Like, he wasn't honest about a lot of these things and so forth. And that, so Jojo's lost everything. And now, because the Allies and Americans are taking over this city, they are executing any Nazis that are not surrendering, essentially. And they grab Jojo because he's wearing a Nazi uniform, and Jojo meets up with Captain K, Captain K has this uniform that he put together, that he said he copyrighted, and no one else is allowed to copy, which was a funny scene. And where I say he was really flamboyant and gay because of how he was dressed, but also his right-hand man is basically his lover, and it's just hilarious how they interact throughout the film and until they lose the war. So he has this last interaction with Captain K, and they talk about how Oh, right. So this is Captain K, one of my favorite moments in the scene in the movie, where Captain K basically tells Jojo that he needs to give this up, like that it's you need to go and be a boy, go and help Elsa, go and save her. And he takes off, he has Jojo take off his jacket, and he calls him a stupid little Jew and throws him away, and so that he doesn't get executed, essentially. And so he sacrifices himself and saves Jojo, sends him off, and Captain K is then executed, which was also pretty impactful for Jojo because he was a father figure to him, and he saw that Captain K was willing to lie and go against his country for the sake of Jojo. And I thought that was just really significant for Jojo's character to see Captain K do that, to make that sacrifice for him. So he goes back to his home, meets up with Elsa, and Elsa asks him what's going on. He says, "Oh, we've won the war. Germany won the war. America's lost." And so she's pretty broken up about it. So this was kind of his last betrayal, his last lie. He's been changing, he's been growing, but he makes one last attempt. He holds on for one last thread, and has one more interaction with Hitler. And by the end of that interaction, he basically says "F off Hitler" and kicks him out a window.
He does say that. He doesn't basically say that.
Well, no, yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, he does say that. Right. Which, there was another scene where Hitler jumped out a window, but that was more of him being like a hero, and now he's being thrown out of Jojo's mind. So, anyways, takes Elsa outside. They
talked about how Hitler had blown his brains out, and then when we see Hitler this time, he's got like his head is like half blown out.
Right. Right. That's great. He's convincing Elsa to he's gonna try to help her escape. He's still going with the lie, but he's in this scene, he's taken the role of his mother, or he's being the boy that his mother wanted him to be. And a lot of the lines from earlier in the film, when he is about to go outside and he's scared, he's delivering, or that his mom delivered, he's delivering to Elsa. Elsa asks, like, "Is it dangerous?" And he says, "Extremely," which his mom said earlier in the film. And she still thinks the Germans have won the war. Also, he ties her shoe, so he's learned to tie his shoes. Character growth, development. And then they go outside and they see American soldiers parading in the streets, American flag. She sees that Jojo lied. She slaps him, and he's like, "Yeah, I deserve that." But then they kind of have they embrace, and they like have this hopeful moment. And and then as we're watching these two characters, the music starts playing and she starts dancing. She is finally free. She has gotten her freedom to be a normal person, to be herself. And the first thing that she does is dance, which, man, how they set this up in this whole film leading up to this scene is just incredible. I don't know how they did it so well, how Taika Waititi did it so well, but they did, where she's dancing, and it's nothing crazy, just dancing a little bit, but it's just that the theme of dancing, theme of hope in life. She's wearing this green shirt as well, which is bright color, but also the gray tone is gone. There's hope, there's life, there's sunlight, and Jojo's dancing as well. And it's just both these characters have gone on their journey and have made it to this place, and Jojo has turned from his old self, become new. He's repented, he's relented, he's turned from his old self, he's renewed, and Elsa is here. She's received her freedom, and Jojo has helped her get to that point, and our characters have reconciled, and roll credits.
Yeah.
There's a lot great there, but man,
yeah,
incredible movie, incredible story, and there's a lot more I wanted to say about Captain K, but I think I'll let that settle. What do you got? What anything else?
Yeah. Yeah, we should just talk about like I mean, what's going on in this movie? Why are people like how are we supposed to see this movie and why is it so weird and so ridiculous
Sure.
and what do
Right.
you think?
Yeah. It is. It's this like slapstick comedy, like Monty Python inspired, where it's satire. This is a satirical movie, where we're looking at Hitler's Germany and the Nazis, where there's a lot of realism, there's a lot of truth. Well, with satire, there's always truth in satire. There's always you have to have some truth in order for it to actually make sense or actually be funny. Where like for one instance, Germans were very vibrant. Like they wore vibrant colors. They were, a lot of them were flamboyant. A lot of the Nazis were flaming homosexuals. That's just how they were. And the way that they depicted Captain K and his right hand man I think was really well done, and just how they developed throughout the story. But it was like over the top, even at sometimes in such a way that like, yeah, this is satirical, this is humorous, this is funny. It's showing this is how things were, but in a more in a satirical way, I guess. But it's not taking itself too seriously to where it's like it's irreverent, or a disgrace to Jews or anything. It's actually showing like this is how ridiculous Germany was at this time. This is how ridiculous Hitler was. He was insane, and he was a wicked man. And we're not in this movie like, for one, like we like Jojo. We don't hate Jojo even as a Nazi. Like, yeah, we don't like that he's terrible to Jews, but we like his character because we know that he's going somewhere. We know he's going to develop. If we're following maybe like a middle-aged Nazi, I don't know if it would work as well. But the fact that we're following a 10-year-old, I think it does work well, because there's that innocence in a kid, and like we know he's a blind follower, and he's been brainwashed, and he's gotten to this point because of everything that he's been fed. But they do such a good job with it because he says all these things and he wants to be this, but he's not. He's a coward. He wants to be brave, but he's a coward. He wants to be a Nazi, but he falls in love with this Jew. And so there's it works. It just works because of how they set it up and how they build the world around that this story is set in.
Yeah.
To the point where it actually does a good job at showing how awful Nazi Germany was, how Nazi Hitler was. But it also shows that there were real people in Germany at this time. There were people like Jojo's mom, but there were also kids like Jojo, where they were so devoted to the cause, but it was a losing cause. And some of them learned that. And someone went to their grave not learning from that. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
What do you
I think this is tied into the cinematography and everything, and why it's a satire, why we're seeing things the way we are, is because we're seeing it through Jojo's eyes. We're seeing this through a 10-year-old's eyes. We're seeing Nazi Germany through a 10-year-old's eyes, and this is how the 10-year-old would see it. It's a very like, it's just this 10-year-old boy that's like living an adventure. Like, he's always so excited about Nazis and like all these things, because that's what that's what he's living around. That's what everybody's talking about. That's just what he's living in. So like, that's what he was excited about. Like, when we were 10-year-olds, we were excited about something. Like, there was something that like we wanted to be, like Lord of the Rings. Like, we wanted to be those guys. Like, we had our axes and our swords and all these things. Like, we wanted to be them. Just like this 10-year-old wants to be a Nazi, because that's what he's excited about. That's what he's inspired by, because that's the world he's living in. And through this movie, like as he progresses, we see those moments of realism are those moments of like he's learning that like that what he's living in is a fantasy world, and that he's seeing things not as they actually are. And so I think whenever any of these people are acting ridiculous, it's just how he is seeing it. Like it just seems ridiculous. Like it seems innocent, it seems good in his eyes, but in reality, it's actually really dark. And so us having that knowledge, we know it's dark, but they're doing it in a comedic way. But to a boy, it would just be comedic, because like things are just funny when you're a 10-year-old. Like you're just enjoying life. You're just living through life. You're just going on an adventure, whatever, you know?
Right.
And then like the bunny rabbit scene was one of the first times like where I thought like that seed was planted of like, he's realizing what life is, and life, like he was like, because right before that he was like, I kill, like I love to kill, and then they hand him the bunny, and then
I'm super
he's like, I can't do this. And with the cinematography, like I don't know if you noticed this, like the cinematography is always at the level of him, like it's just always low. Like there's some wide shots, whatever, but like whenever it's personable, like it's always really low. And I think that's really great. People are always kneeling down to his level. They're always sitting down at his level. Like we're just always at his level. And I think that points to prove that that's what Taika's point was, is to show that this is what a kid would see Nazi Germany as. And that's why he was able to make it into a comedy, is because he's saying, look, this is what a kid would see Nazi Germany as. It's still evil, but the kid doesn't realize it until the end of the movie, when his mom dies. He realizes, no, this is real life. This is serious. Like people do die.
It hits him.
And it hits him. And after that moment it's just real life for him. Like he's realized until he does the dancing scene, and he's a 10-year-old kid again. He's a 10-year-old boy, like not being overpowered by the desire or the idolatry of wanting to be a Nazi or of Hitler. Like he too is free at that moment. He's free to be himself, when at the same time she's actually free too.
Yeah, they both find their freedom. Yeah. No, that's really good, and I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah,
that definitely helps understand where the director's coming from. But yeah, and once after his mom dies, like everything becomes real to him. But also he realizes Elsa she deserves her freedom as well.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah. Another moment was when the mom made him look at the dead people. That moment is great, because like if you look at it through the way I'm seeing this movie, is at that moment he that was him saying like, I don't want to know that this is real life. I don't want to know. I want to live in my fantasy world. I like my fantasy world. It's fun. Everybody's funny. Like everything's just fun and adventurous, and I get to, be around all these ridiculous people. Like I don't want to see that. And I thought it was great. All right, we should probably rate this and get this over.
I'm going to talk about Yorkie in our after hours.
Yeah.
Because Yorkie's a pretty significant character that I didn't go over enough. But
there's some theories about him too, and we can get into that.
Definitely.
Such a funny character. Probably the funniest character.
He's the best.
I love Yorkie. He's so bland in his comedy, and it's great.
Right. It's great.
All right, so
where are you going to put this one?
Man.
It's getting so tight this season.
Yeah, I know. This is probably 8.4 for me.
8.4. Okay. I was thinking close to that. I was probably thinking about 8. I would say 8.7.
Okay.
Yeah. I think 7. This is like below Gladiator for me. Gladiator's definitely still above this, but man, do just love this movie, and I don't know why I was saying that I was gonna put it above it. I think I do think all like 1917 I would still keep above this, but yeah, I'd say 8-7. So you want to what?
I want to do 8.
You say 4?
Yeah.
8. We could do 8-5.
Okay.
Let's do 8-5. Solid.
All right. Cool. Yeah. Well, I guess I can close this out if you're all right with that.
Go for it.
Well, thank you guys for listening. We hope you enjoyed this review. I know this is a long one, but this is a very detailed and very heavily filled movie with a lot of details and great stories. So a lot to go through, but we hope you enjoyed it anyway. And we thank you guys for listening. If you want to hear more, head over to our Patreon. We're just going to talk a little bit more about this movie and just some fun things about it and different details and such. And a mini review will be attached to the end of it. So, of a different movie. So if you want some more content, head over there. And yeah, thank you guys. Remember to glorify God and watch good movies. We're out. Bye.
Bye.